Welcome back to Outside Views, where today we're diving deep into the wonderful world of Brexit. Again. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to the supermarket without noticing empty shelves, inflation surprises and ever-rising bills, Brexit strikes again. And today we're talking trade, inflation and the harsh reality facing Britain's economy post-Brexit. In short, the UK's changing trade relationships have weighed on the economy. And that's not my phrasing, that comes directly from the lips of none other than Andrew Bailey, Governor of the Bank of England. And when the Bank of England governor uses language like weighed, you know it's serious. This isn't some minor inconvenience, it's Brexit-induced gravity pulling the British economy down. And speaking recently in Dublin, Bailey politely but firmly suggested the UK government deepen its ties with the European Union. Yeah, you heard that right. Britain's top monetary official openly urging the government to buddy up closer to Brussels. And why? Well, to minimize negative effects on trade. Because, spoiler alert, Brexit has made things complicated. Now, Andrew Bailey is a cautious man. He explicitly clarified he's not taking a stance on Brexit itself, diplomatically saying he understood there might be other reasons voters chose to leave the EU. In translation, I'm not here to start a fight, but please, for the love of all that's holy, can we at least agree trade is important? And why is trade so crucial? Let's start with the obvious. Barriers to trade create inefficiencies. Inefficiencies lead to higher costs. Higher costs mean, you guessed it, inflation. And right now, Britain's inflation is higher than anyone's comfort zone. Just in April, UK inflation spiked unexpectedly from 2.6% to 3.5%. Ouch! And the Bank of England's official target is a neat, tidy 2%. Missing that target isn't just slightly awkward. It's economically painful, like stubbing your toe repeatedly on the same Brexit-shaped doorstep. And Bailey's timing couldn't be more relevant. Just as global trade tensions escalate, largely thanks to Donald Trump's ongoing trade tantrums, Britain finds itself increasingly isolated. And Bailey warns that the global manufacturing supply chains we've relied on for decades, long, intricate, efficient, aren't coming back, at least not like before. COVID and geopolitical tensions shattered that delicate global web, creating uncertainty and inflexibility. And this uncertainty means the Bank of England's job, managing inflation, is far more difficult. Imagine being a firefighter and Brexit is your neighbor who keeps lighting fires and politely asking you to put them out. Annoying, right? But let's talk specifics. Brexit disrupted the UK's seamless access to the EU single market, adding layers of bureaucracy and delays. And this translates directly into higher prices in supermarkets, higher energy bills, and even higher council taxes. And Brexit has made life more expensive for everyone, from businesses to ordinary Brits just trying to pay their bills. And here's another cruel twist. Not everyone is feeling Brexit's inflationary pinch equally. According to new data from the Office for National Statistics, inflation has risen much faster for renters, both private and social, compared to older households who own their homes outright. Private renters saw costs rise by 3.6% in March, while homeowners who have paid off their mortgages saw only a modest 1.8% increase. Social renters, those renting from local authorities or housing associations, saw inflation hit 3%. If you're young and renting, you're paying more simply for the privilege of living somewhere, anywhere, under a roof. Ben Toomey, the chief executive of Generation Rent, described these figures as a sour reminder of just how much young people and renters are struggling. And let's face it, Brexit inflation isn't just economic, it's personal. It impacts your home, your life choices, even your basic sense of security. Renters, young workers, and those without property equity are bearing the brunt of Brexit-induced inflation. This isn't just unfair, it's deeply problematic for Britain's economic future. When the younger generation is economically squeezed, everyone suffers. Future growth is stunted, inequality worsens, and social stability is weakened. Andrew Bailey clearly understands this, and his message to the government is clear. Enough is enough. Britain can't keep pretending it can thrive economically while locked out of its most important trading relationship. Sure, the recent agreement between Keir Starmer and EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was a welcome step forward. But let's be honest, it's just a start. Deepening ties in financial services, streamlining trade, and reducing regulatory friction aren't just nice-to-haves. They are essential for Britain's economic health. And Bailey and his call echoes loudly. If Britain genuinely wants to tackle inflation and boost economic growth, it needs closer, deeper, and more meaningful cooperation with the EU. And that doesn't mean reversing Brexit entirely, though, let's face it, that wouldn't exactly harm the economy. But it does mean acknowledging reality and facing uncomfortable truths. And one such uncomfortable truth is that Brexit made Britain economically weaker. Sure, there were reasons for Brexit. All this sovereignty, border control, emotional appeals to independence. But those arguments don't pay bills. They don't reduce inflation, ease supply chains, or attract investment. Only stable, predictable, frictionless trade can do that. And this isn't some ideological argument, this is pure economics. Reduced trade efficiency translates directly into higher inflation and slower growth. No amount of political spin can hide this simple fact. And let's remember that globally, economies are rapidly restructuring. The EU itself is becoming more interventionist, more strategic, and more economically aggressive. Europe is reshoring industries, investing massively in green technology and digital sectors, and creating cohesive continental value chains. And Britain, meanwhile, risks being left behind, isolated on its Brexit island, waving from across the channel. Brexiteers once worried about the EU as a fortress Europe. Well, post-Brexit, Britain now finds itself outside that fortress, economically exposed, vulnerable, and increasingly uncompetitive. And this isn't a metaphor, this is economic reality staring Britain squarely in the face. And the solution? Well, the Bank of England governor himself laid it out clearly. Deepen EU ties, accept reality, improve cooperation, reduce barriers. It's common sense economics, not ideological surrender. The truth is, Brexit Britain can't afford to play ideological games anymore. The stakes are too high. Economic stability, inflation control, housing affordability, and Britain's global competitiveness. The Labour government's recent diplomatic moves towards the EU are steps in the right direction, but they must become bolder and faster if they are to make a real difference. And simply put, tinkering around Brexit's edges won't solve Britain's fundamental economic challenges. Only serious, deep and pragmatic economic integration will. And Bailey's warning was diplomatic, but its message was blunt. Stop weighing down the economy and start lifting it up again. Britain has a clear choice. Embrace closer ties with Europe and strengthen its economy, or stubbornly cling to ideological purity and watch inflation, inequality and economic stagnation worsen. Andrew Bailey has spoken. Will the government listen? Will Labour take the necessary bold steps? Will Britain finally face economic reality? Stay tuned, because here at Outside Views I'll continue bringing you the uncomfortable truths, the hard economic realities, and occasionally the hope that common sense might yet prevail. And if you enjoyed this detailed dive into Brexit's economic impacts, and let's face it, who doesn't love a good Brexit deep dive, then please hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. More economic realities, political ironies, and insightful analysis await. And until next time, remember, trade matters, inflation matters, and facts matter, even in post-Brexit Britain. And if you want to see another video right now, there's one right there in the end screen, right next to a video from my newest channel. And if you like animals, I would love your support there as well. Whichever of these two videos you're watching right now, I'll see you there. I'll be back.